What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Innovators Den. I am formerly known as hashtag. You can find us on Instagram at the Innovators Den, and I'm here with
Steve-O Business. And we got a very, very special guest. We got Phoenix and we got Jason. They got a cool movie coming out, and I thought it was great to like highlight them. So I'm gonna give the stage to Phoenix to. What's up, Phoenix?
Yeah, what's up, man?
He
Thank
came
you for
from far
having
to
us.
come and see us. So
Yeah.
you know, we got him on the run, but it's an honor to have you. I think it's a beautiful thing what you're doing with the movie and the story you're telling from the Geechee community. So highlight your story, man.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank you all for having us. The Innovators Den. Jason and I are super excited to be here. And yeah, man. So we have a movie coming out.
Right.
It's called The Geechee Witch, a Buhag story.
Right.
And it tells the story of a couple that relocates from Harlem to the Savannah, Georgia area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a horror thriller about what happens when you go to a place and you are not necessarily welcomed,
Mm-hmm.
and when bad things happen to you when you go to sleep at night.
Right.
So
That's the big thing.
don't go to sleep.
What like inspired the film like that? For you, like what inspired the film for you guys?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'll just take it back a little bit.
Yeah, let's go back.
We're gonna go back
All the way back.
10 years.
Let's go all the way back.
Yeah, 10 years to about 2013. So there's actually three of us. It's me, Jason, and J. Craig Gordon, who couldn't be with us today. But
I think we've met.
yeah,
We connected.
you all have definitely talked to J. Craig. He's an amazing guy, man, super talented. And about 10 years ago, he and I were talking about a bunch of different ideas, and he had a Buhag experience as a boy.
Right.
And man, when he told me about it, I was just like, this story needs to be told. So we kind of started kicking the idea around and put pen to paper a little bit, and I was like, we need to call my boy Jason. He's needs to be a part of this too. He gets the vibe. So we gave him a call, and man, as soon as we started talking about it, he was like, "Yo, I'm in it. I love it." And man, we just kind of went from there, and we wrote a script, and we did what everybody else does when they write a script. We shopped it around, and we got told no a whole bunch. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, the pandemic hits, and we were able to get some private equity behind us, and called Craig, called Jason, made sure everybody was 100%.
Are we on the same?
Listen, we sure we want to do this, and the answer came back as yeah, let's do it. Nice. And we started, man. So I'm giving you the big overview, but it's a lot of gray hair and sleepless nights
like
in there.
What's the narrative before getting to this movie? Like you already was in the film and industry? You was already in the...
Yeah, well, Phoenix and I met working with another company and did several projects leading up to 2013 together. I think like 2011. We were talking earlier, actually. One of the first things we covered together was a Bitcoin convention.
Right.
It had been like 2011 or something. Back when Bitcoin was, 50 cents a pop?
We should have been buying it.
That would be a whole different trajectory.
Yeah.
But, what's interesting is back then, kind of leading up to when they brought me onto the project, Get Out hadn't even
That's right.
become
The movie,
a thing.
right?
Yeah,
That was a good one.
So there's
It was, but this is pre-Get Out.
yeah,
Way
exactly. There was a big void where African American representation and especially horror films needed to be filled up, and so Phoenix and Craig were innovative in wanting to capitalize on that, and also just like, here's an audience that loves films. Why aren't we making movies
For them.
That's right. Yeah. And so the Gullah-Geechee. So the film is called The Geechee Witch.
Right.
But there is an entire nation of people called the Gullah-Geechee, and they number well over 1 million.
In the United States only?
Yeah, here in the United States, man. It goes from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida.
That's right. And this is called the Coastal Empire. And these are all a lot of descendants of West African slaves who plantation owners didn't enjoy staying on the islands off of the coasts down there because they're very, very brutal. The temperature, the bugs, but they were great for rice plantations. They were great for growing okra. They were great indigo, which were all very similar to the western coast of Africa.
That's right.
So a lot of these descendants ended up being given a lot more free reign than a lot of their brothers and sisters who were on the actual mainland. Wow. And out of that, this really beautiful culture developed.
Yeah, it's everything is culture.
More like a folk tale that's been passed around.
So the Buhag, the Gullah-Geechee are people.
Right.
You know, they are a distinct people with their own language. It's not slang. Right. It's not a dialect. It's a language. And they have, you know, customs and folklore and food.
So is the story like a folklore tale that
So this story touches on a part of their folklore called the hag or the Buhag.
Right.
And the Buhag is a demon that attacks you in the night and does a variety of things to you, from just disturbing your sleep to chopping you into 1,000 pieces.
What's really fascinating,
and she hides in people's skin during the day, so
absolutely
she could be Danny and you wouldn't know it.
Right.
What's really fascinating about the Geechee Witch, about the Buhag, is in every culture around the world, there's some sort of folklore tied up around the sleep paralysis effect. Wow. And for the Gullah-Geechee, this is the way that they communicated that.
So we have a similar story in our culture. We have El Cuco, which is like in Dominican culture, like what they tell you, like you gotta be scared of. And they have like Galipote, different kind of stories like that things will come at you at night, so you gotta be careful.
I think Danny's giving us another movie. Has the movie been made?
Not yet.
No?
No, not yet.
We can talk about that after. We can discuss after this episode.
The reason why he's saying that is because you guys are a production company and you guys are building out, you know, systemized to produce more movies, correct?
Yeah. So the movie started from a conversation. But we decided to shoot this particular film because movie making is very difficult and you have to be strategic about it. So there are reasons that we chose to do a horror film first, right? So one of the reasons is there is no expectation of an A-list actor in a horror film, right? Nobody expects to see Denzel in Saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And
well, maybe Jason does, but
and question, did like filming in Savannah have like any effect on the movie itself? Because you picked that spot for a reason, right?
You know what was wild is Halloween Ends was filming at the same time that we were filming, and they actually used the house that we shot in after we.
Nice, because there's so much history in Savannah. So
Savannah's I think it's the number one most haunted city in Savannah's the number one most haunted city in America.
Yeah,
so they have a rich horror history in Savannah.
There's a lot of old,
which is wild because when you actually go to Savannah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Right.
Like it's nothing scary about it.
I passed by. It's not. I didn't feel scared.
No, but it's just it has so much history, like plantations. The houses are from the 1800s,
Before that, the history goes back.
So the Geechee also is part of that community in Savannah, Georgia, correct?
An integral part.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of Carolina golden rice? So there's a rice. Africans were enslaved and brought to America. A lot of times we hear that word slave as like this kind of overarching word that makes it feel like it's a monolith, but these are people, these are artisans, these are rice. These are people with expertise in rice growing, indigo growing, architecture. These aren't just people who are wandering around doing nothing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So when they got here, and to Jason's point earlier, they were left largely, autonomous on these coastal islands, right. And they were able to keep a lot of their culture. Mm-hmm. Carolina rice is a direct relationship to that rice expertise that they had. There would be no Carolina rice were it not for the Gullah-Geechee. Wow. Carolina golden rice were it not for the Gullah-Geechee. And the Carolina golden rice is $1 billion industry. Mm-hmm. It's worth a lot of money.
Right.
It's worth a lot of money.
Not just like culinary did this country benefit from the Gullah-Geechee, but because of the Gullah presence and the development of their communities down there, we actually got a lot of what we know as voodoo is attributed to that. That whole area became this beautiful mixing pot. But getting back to the question about shooting in Savannah, it's interesting because it was also very difficult. Savannah itself, even though there's a film school there, only really has one equipment shop to get film equipment.
And shout out to them. Yeah.
And shout out to them, yeah. JML, yeah. Right? Yeah. Benoit.
Shout out to Benoit.
But we didn't just shoot in Savannah. We also decided to shoot on one of these coastal islands off of the southern tip of South Carolina. There's this island called Dufusky, which also has a tremendous history. I think going back some like 9,000 years, they have artifacts onto this island. And we were the first film crew to shoot a narrative movie out there. Nice. And I tell you, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I mean...
So making the movie had its trials and tribulations, too. It was not just...
Oh, Steve, listen, man. Well, every movie has trials and tribulations. But when you're going to an island like Dufusky that doesn't have... is not set up to deal with a production crew. They don't have that
Is it like
sort
a
of
livable
infrastructure.
island?
Oh, it's 100%. It's beautiful. It's 100% livable.
Yeah. But there's no roads out there. I think there was a road. They tried to establish a road out there in like 1970 or something. But it didn't last long.
But road meaning like from the mainland to the island. There's roads once you get on the island, but there's no way to get to. You have to take a boat or a ferry.
So you had to suit up with all the camera equipment.
You got to load it up by hand. You got no idea.
We had a whole fleet of boats. We had a marine coordinator who was just figuring out how to get things to and from.
And then we had like a key guy on Dufusky. Shout out to Ron and everybody on Dufusky. It was shooting in Savannah it had challenges, but overall, man, the entire community, the entire city of Savannah was super supportive. Mm-hmm. Super supportive, and they still call and keep in touch, and they want us to come back and do something else.
I think it's really cool that when people make film, the audience sees the final result, but there's a whole movie and journey that happened to making it, to making a film or creating a podcast or having an experience, Mm-hmm. So basically, it's been a process for you guys, to make the movie. But here we are. So now, when we release again?
February 9th, 2024.
We got a solid date?
We got as solid as a date you can have for independent.
That's dope. That's amazing. It's good because not a lot of people are ready to go independent, right?
Yeah.
But you guys put yourself in a position to say, hey, we know the information, we have the content, we got the story, we got the support. Let's start, as independent and direct to consumer. So, what's the first theater you guys are going?
The first what?
The theater release. Are you guys gonna release a specific place? The movie?
No, man. We're talking. So shout out to Regal for doing the deal with us. They have been super supportive and super easy to work with. Shout out to Mike at Regal. We are also in talks with AMC. So depending on how that goes, it'll change or add to all the places that you're able to go see the film.
Also, you guys are going to have a website to go probably see it directly?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow Geechee Witch on all socials.
But can we go back a little bit and kind of speak more about the process of creating the film?
Yeah.
Because you were talking about the story and then we kind of like diverted. Can you go back to like the script writing, casting of the crew, and how did that go about?
Well, Jason and I have, and Craig, we've been at it for a long time. So that's the first thing I want to put out there.
Yeah.
To all writer producers, producer directors, director writers, whatever your hyphenate combo is, this is not a get rich quick scheme. Man, you're gonna essentially dedicate your life to this. If you're not prepared to dedicate your life, do not get into this.
Yeah, and even with time, as our main tool, like the wind in our sails, the amount of money even for an independent movie is astronomical. And just because you have a script doesn't guarantee that you have the business savvy, like the genius of Phoenix and Jay Craig brought to this, to get it financed. I mean, when these guys approached me, it was November of 2013. Wow. And we pumped out a first draft of the script by February of 2014. And since then, I think it was about 10 separate revisions.
At least
10. Just getting it to what our audience is going to be able to see as the Geechee Witch today. But all of those revisions came from getting the feedback. All of those revisions came from an understanding that this has to be the best it can be.
Well, but that started also with like research, right? When y'all said, we're going to do this movie, there was a lot of research into that culture, into that experience and what's going on.
And I think you mentioned Jay Craig is actually Geechee himself.
Oh, that's
Jay Craig is he's Gullah-Geechee, so
that was the door to that.
Yeah, so we kind of had a little bit of a cheat code because we had somebody on the team from that world. I think his aunt's name is Millicent. Auntie Millicent is a griot, so she's an oral storyteller.
Nice.
So she is a repository of information, man. And
Can you say that word again? Griot?
Griot, Griot, I think is how it's spelled. Yeah. So just having access to that gave us an inside track. Nice. And kind of going back to process a little bit more, I just want to say to every producer, writer, director watching, please pump out a producible script. Like, dude, if you got Tom Cruise running through Times Square shirtless with snow falling, like, that is not going to happen. Do not submit that script to anybody because that's a $2 million day.
Right.
And nobody's going to produce that. It has to be a producible script. And I think that people don't necessarily know the difference between a good idea and a producible idea. Right. They're not necessarily the same. That's the first lesson.
That's right.
Because people approach us all the time with stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's a good idea, my man, but
the budget is not going to work for that.
You got a Transformer fighting Godzilla. Like, I can't.
When we first started with this back then, a decade ago, the part of the constraints to the creative process was, can we write something that we could make for maybe $120,000? And the first rendition of the script actually had, I don't know, like half or a third as many members in the cast, was even more of a limited location. But it's inside of those constraints that I think actually you come up with some of the most creative stories. And going back to encouraging directors, producers, writers, innovators who want to get into telling movies cinematically, embrace those constraints. Maybe you can't have Tom Cruise running through Times Square, with the snow and everything. But what can you do? Or most realistically, to start with this, start with something that you can accomplish.
That's right. 100%. Start there.
Makes sense.
Instead of saying, "Oh, I don't have enough money. What can I do with the money that I have?"
What I
Right.
got.
Yeah.
Because along the way, you're going to find you get more support because what you're picturing, what you're envisioning is actually tangible. It has value. Whereas when you're approaching it from, a purely astronomically expensive or too creative of a position, I don't like to say too creative, but kind of an unrealistic position, that's not valuable. I can imagine that I have 1 million, ingots of gold, but that's not real.
and adding to that, listen, it's your baby. I get it. It's your idea, but you got to stay open to collaboration,
Right.
because filmmaking is a team sport.
Right.
It's not gonna end the way it started, right? That idea is not gonna look exactly. Even once we had the producible script,
Right. Oh.
it still changed. What you see on screen is not exactly what we had in the script. It's
Right.
gonna change. We had Jeremiah, fantastic director, who came on board and he added a ton of value. Kat Van Cleve, who was our production designer, she came in, added a ton of value. You got to be open to these very talented, smart people saying to you, there's a better way to do this.
Yes.
And how was the casting? Sorry, you were gonna say something.
I was just going to say, and especially in a space where your budget is a main constraint. Like the collaborative energy that you get out of it, again, feeds into that even more creative end product.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, like, how about the casting? How was that? And
Casting was tricky. Shout out to Caroline Sinclair, our casting director. She was very patient with us. She worked with the limitations that we had, and she did a fantastic job.
because when it's a horror film, I at least I picture it that you kind of have to have actors that are able to, like,
emote.
Yes.
Yeah.
use a
You
lot of
do.
emotion, that silence.
Yeah, you do. It's a lot of, facial work, and we had a wonderful cast, man. We Stephen Cofield Jr., Trifina Way, Ernestine, Johnson Morrison,
Basil Williams.
Basil, Lance Nichols, Sinclair Daniel. So we had a fantastic cast that we honestly could not have. And that's what Jason's saying. Like, people, it's gonna come.
Right.
We couldn't really afford these guys. Like, these guys, this is a top-notch cast.
Right.
And they came, they loved the script, they got into it, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do it. Just, can you meet this benchmark?" We said, "Okay, we'll find a way to get there." But they could have charged us
Way more.
way more,
Well,
because that's what they get. That's what their market value is. But they believed and they wanted to contribute, and they came. Listen, it costs money though. They're going to charge you. It has to make sense for them and their agent. But you need people that believe, and we had a cast that believed, and you're going to see it on screen. It comes across on screen.
That's amazing.
Now, what can you say about, like, as far as you said the budget was a restraint, but what other restraints did you guys encounter?
Waking up every day and not jumping off a bridge.
And I have to call everybody to be on set. It's just crazy, right?
I'll give you that part, not so much, because we're professionals. We've been doing it for a long time. So the 5 a.m., 4 a.m. call times, that's just movie making.
Right.
If you can't get up early, then you don't need to be in this business, because everything is early.
And I mean, we were bringing a lot of crew from both New York and LA in to work on this. These guys were all, in it to win it. Nobody was there to just, slap
Hang out
off.
in Savannah. Yeah, no. We're a pro level operation. But I will tell you a challenge that you might not think about. And this is like getting down into producing nuts and bolts. Mm-hmm. You got to think about food. Mm-hmm. You got to think about where people are using the bathroom. Mm-hmm. You got to think about bugs when you're in a place like Savannah.
Oh my gosh! You got
remember Defusky?
Oh my gosh! We had
Ernestine. I don't know which camera it is. Ernestine, I'm eternally grateful. I am sorry. Lena Lansky, thank you. Our wonderful AD. She got completely tortured on Defusky,
Man.
and she soldiered through it. Ernestine got completely tortured on Defusky, and she soldiered through it. And that's what I mean by having people that really support you. But if we had known what those sand fleas were like on Defusky, I don't know what we could have done, but we would have tried to maybe talk to a local and figure out, because they seem to be immune to it.
Yeah, and when we scouted it too, it was in their off season, so
Yeah, it was cold.
It was cold. The bugs were cold.
Wow,
They were on the
that's
ground.
so crazy.
Yeah, when we were there in March, right? Man, it was
brutal.
It was brutal.
So think about that. How do you act when you're getting literally
Bit by-
by not a bug, but literally 500? You can't. But they did it. They did it, man.
They
So
did it. Wow.
yeah.
That's
On the
incredible.
beach, we have a beautiful beach scene, and
But they getting bit.
because we're stirring the sand up, and they live in the sand.
Yeah.
Man, they were like, what? But it's little stuff like that
Yeah,
that
you might not even think about.
you got to think about that can kill your day. Because the actors, Ernestine and all the other actors and Lena, they could have said, listen, we're not
We're not gonna
doing
do this.
And they would have been completely valid, and we would have had to rejigger some stuff to make it happen. But
Pivot.
Yeah, and there's a human element involved in all of this too. I mean, bringing your crew out to the island in the first place was already okay. Like, where are we even going to put people? This isn't like there's not like a Hilton and a Marriott just on the street. It was like we're going to stay out there for 2 days, just getting island stuff.
This producer,
and
this was a movie.
yeah,
yeah,
it really
This
is.
was a whole movie.
You know, you gotta, as a producer, not just think about what can we afford today, but also think about how's my crew doing.
that's right.
Like, these are people too, and again, it's a team sport. Everyone is just as critical to
That's
you know, making that touchdown, to getting to the end zone.
Right.
If you're overvaluing one department over another department, people start to break down. You know, going back to the biggest limitation with a lot of independent filmmaking, really, it does come to money, but it's also how do you innovatively approach that situation. Like, we knew we couldn't film more than 12 hours a day, because at that rate, the overtime that you're paying people that would have killed us.
Right.
So a matter of communicating with these guys and being able to understand, okay, where can I jump in to help out? Because the fact is, we can't stay here past 12 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because there's legal laws to filming too, right? So
Well, it's overtime you got to pay. I mean, listen, you can stay for 100 hours. Can you afford it?
That's the thing.
You can stay as long as you want. The crew, I mean, listen, there's only so much that people can work before they burn out.
right.
And you're working in the sun, it's bugs out. Like, I think part of the advantage that Jay Craig and Jason and myself have is that we came up through the ranks. So I'm not just somebody who is, you know, doesn't know what's going on, came into a bunch of money and decided to shoot a movie. Man, I worked my way from an intern to PA to production coordinator. Like, every rung of the ladder. I've been in the grip department, I've been in lighting, you name it. So I know what it feels like to get burned. I had people work me for 16 hours and then run off with the money, and I didn't get paid. Like, I know what it feels like to get burned. And I said to myself, when I get to the level where I'm the producer and I'm responsible for people, I'm going to treat people the way I wish people would have treated me back then.
Wow.
So we don't play around when it comes to lunch and breaks and money, and you're never going to hear about us owing anybody money. No, we don't play those games.
In Phoenix, I have been to hell and back a few times. Like, this wasn't our first rodeo, and you really have to keep that end goal in mind, because when you're in the trenches, especially, I mean, we were doing this with a minimal crew, minimal crew. Everybody has to be on their game, and every day is a challenge.
Right.
And if you let that get to you, if your spirit is broken, you'd fall apart. I mean, there were plenty of days where you could probably cut the air with a butter knife.
It's tense.
But knowing that we shared this common goal, like, we had a mission that had to be accomplished. We were going to do whatever it took to get through it, and to get through it together. And
Now you guys are on a press run.
And then we're on a press run, man. But the last thing I'll say is on that note, for you new producers, whatever your position is, when you get to those above the line positions, man, you would come some days and Craig would be J. Craig would be moving furniture. I would be lifting sandbags. Jason would be folding up a C-stand. Like, just because you got a title, man, like, it's still your crew, it's your team.
Right.
You got to get in there. If there's a gap, you got to fill that gap.
bro, if you're on the pirate ship, you better be a pirate.
That's right.
You know?
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
But you going off the boat.
Or you're going overboard.
That's it.
And the crew will throw you overboard. Like, you don't want a mutiny, man. Like,
yeah.
you think a
Make the
crew won't decide that they're not doing your film anymore, then that means that you haven't been around long. I've seen it happen a bunch. But you know what else I've seen happen? I've seen people work for not a lot of money because they were getting treated right. So we come with the money and we come and treat people well. So that's why, when we ring people's phones, they answer. And we're proud of that.
That's amazing. That's a great business mindset to have.
Yeah.
What about like the storyline behind this movie in particular? Can you speak on the?
Yeah. So I don't want to give
giving too much.
Yeah, I won't give too much, but the Boo Hag is a story that's set in Gullah-Geechee culture. The Boo Hag is a demon that will do anything to get what she wants, and she operates mainly at night, but she also does her thing in the daytime too, as other people. So you never really know who she is. So you can't sleep and you can't stay awake because she'll get you either way.
In the cast, have a Gullah-Geechee experience after, like
that's a good
experience after
question.
The movie.
That's a really
because I start thinking about stuff now. I'm feeling like
that's a good question. I'm gonna have to go back and take a survey. Yeah, that's a good point, man. But
a nice summary of the movie, like just to set the stage, is this young couple coming down from Harlem head back to the husband's childhood family home after finding out that his mother has passed away under some mysterious circumstance. So they go down there not only to attend the funeral, but also to inherit the estate because his father wants to leave the island completely. Oh, okay. Now, being down there, the husband, Asa, he's quick to be reacquainted with the island, with his youth. But his wife, Leah, is a complete fish out of water. Mm-hmm. And when a combination of anxieties, external marital pressures, and bad dreams come together, she starts to have a really difficult time discerning what is real and what is a legend. Mm-hmm. And that's where the movie really starts to sink in. And we lean into this psychological thriller element for a lot of the movie to really make the audience question whether Leah Robbins is having a mental breakdown or whether this legend of the Geechee Witch is real.
So it got a lot of twists and turns, this movie.
Oh yeah.
How about sound? Because I saw a clip of the trailer and the sound was impeccable.
Yeah, the sound, the audio engineering was.
Yeah, shout out
amazing.
To Max.
Yeah.
Max was a trooper, man.
He's a one-man band down there too.
He is, man. That guy is amazing. But again, the movie is independent in the sense that it wasn't supported initially by a studio. Mm-hmm. But the same people that the studio would use are the same people that we would use. We've been in the business for 20 years. Mm-hmm. So,
and in those 20 years, it's just like not everything's a success. A lot of stuff we learn through failure. You learn in movie making by doing.
That's
and
right.
Going out there. It doesn't take that many projects, especially starting out, to realize that the whole thing, all of the energy was for naught because your sound was ruined.
Yeah.
Sound's really, really critical.
Right.
Yeah.
You get the sound. Have you ever tried to watch a movie with bad sound?
Yeah.
Yes,
You've tried. Yeah.
I have tried.
Yeah. The only movies that work where the sound can be janky and you're okay with it, or kung fu movies.
Or silent
Yeah.
movies.
silent movies.
Silent movies.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man. Well, this has
So,
been
what actionable like items would you give like a up and coming writer or screenwriter or a producer or something that they can take on?
Maybe we can distill it down to 3. I'll take the first one. A producible script. Start with a producible script.
An innovative idea that actually highlights a underrepresented community.
an innovative idea.
Highlighting them.
And the right collaborative team.
Right. Together, everybody accomplish more.
Team sport.
And what?
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, take people with you.
Right.
And what 5 roles you think that screenwriter or producer will need to kind of get started? I know you guys have each other, but like what other
I see what you're saying. Like what 5 key crew members?
crew members? Yeah,
Right.
to start, just to start out. Obviously, you need it's like a football team. You need
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
there.
So you could do something I like to call lone wolf movie making, which is like El Mariachi. You go out there like Robert Rodriguez and you do everything yourself, but which is actually more and more accessible these days with the smartphone. And I think you should start there. I think if you want to be a writer, if you want to be an innovator in film and television, learn how to make a movie on your own, like with no money. Then expanding out from there, it's very typical. Your writer is also going to be your director or producer, but you're going to need somebody to handle art department, and you're going to need somebody to handle sound. You know, camera too is big. Like, so you really are also going to need an actor, somebody to put in front of it,
Right.
Unless you're going to set everything up on a tripod. And you should also have a technician, like your cinematographer is really essential.
The lighting is so important.
Exactly.
That's what helps embrace the camera and the look that the ambience, right?
Absolutely. And so I would say if one additional role that is really necessary is get a runner, get a really solid production assistant or somebody who's just a jack of all trades, and treat them the same as everybody else because they're just as important.
Yeah.
That's right.
That person's going to make and break whatever you got going on, because while you're in it, you got to have somebody able to be working ahead of where you were or somebody working behind you. If your production designer is always one step ahead of the shooting crew and your production assistant is out there running around making sure the food is ready, making sure the truck is parked,
It's a whole community, bro.
Yeah.
It's a whole community for
But-
the movie.
Yeah.
that makes production assistant, production designer, cinematographer, sound,
And you said actor.
and then your actor, director, writer, producer, your key creative.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys. Where can we find out more about the movie? And, about you guys?
Instagram at the Geechee Witch. You can follow us on
And
YouTube.
you?
And me personally,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Phoenix Higgins. And yeah, tap in, man. We would love to. The more the merrier. If you follow us, we'll follow you back. We're excited for everybody to see the film. February 9th, 2024. Shout out to AMC. Shout out to Regal.
There you
We're
go.
coming.
Thank you. Well, there's another episode. Oh, and Jason, tell them where they can follow you.
Oh yeah, you can look me up Instagram JW_NYC.
Perfect.
I think I have a Facebook too, JW Shorts. I'm out there.
It's been-
I exist.
It's been great having you guys. It's an honor to have you. You know, you guys have been
thank
through
you,
your
guys.
experience, your journey. You guys inspire us through your work, and you know, I know you guys have a lot going that's happening that we don't know, and it's time for the transition of growing what you guys have got going on. You know. what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, thank you to both of you all, and thank you to the Innovators Den. We really enjoyed being here, and we
Yeah,
look
thank you
forward
so
to coming
much.
back
We got
again.
Phoenix,
Thanks for
we got
coming.
Jason.
Yay.
Got another episode of the Innovators Den. Peace.
Peace.